Greetings, my name is Nelson Rodriguez, and I'm a graduate of the Master's Program in Educational Leadership with a concentration on higher education from Montclair State University. I was asked to speak to you about a subject that I know a little bit about, Latinos in higher education, in college and universities. Now, quick disclaimer, I cannot speak for all Latinos everywhere. I'm speaking on my experiences. For the past 15 years, I've been working with Latino and other culture students in and around the greater Newark area in New Jersey, North New Jersey. So these are based on my personal experiences. I did do research on getting some national data to help understand Latino college student. Now, first, we got to start off with what is defined as Latino or Hispanic. For many of us in the culture, it can be interchangeable. For some, you are either a Latino or Latina or Hispanic. It really is just a personal decision. But for the purpose of this discussion, I will use Latino as my frame of reference. What Latino is, it is not a race. The difference between race and ethnicity defined by an article in Live Science is that race is associated with biology and ethnicity is associated with culture. Latino is a culture, a very, very broad and large culture. This is what makes Latino culture very unique. There are over 27 countries and territories that consider themselves a part of Latin America, from Mexico down to Chile, to Cuba, to Brazil. There's an abundance of different cultures that make up one culture. So Latinos are extremely different from one another. And it can really be a little confusing sometimes because everybody sees every person that is from Central or South America as Latino. But Argentinos don't see themselves the same way Panameños do. But we'll get into that in a minute. Now, theories. This is where it gets interesting in terms of student development theory. Ferdman and Gallegos created a Latino racial identity orientation model, which discusses how Latino is used as an umbrella to identify similar-looking cultural groups and people of mixed heritage. They suggest that those who consider themselves Latino develop an orientation based on social and personal experiences that include family, education, peers, and their overall social environments, where they live, where they work, who they associate with. Personally, I grew up in a predominantly Puerto Rican community. I am not Puerto Rican, but my Spanish sounds Puerto Rican, my best friends are Puerto Rican, and most of my girlfriends have been Puerto Rican. My parents are immigrants from El Salvador in Central America, and to the disappointment of my mother, I have yet to date an El Salvadorian woman. But I grew up in a first-generation community I grew up first generation. So my parents were born in a different country. I was born here in the United States, and so I'm the first generation in my family. But in my community, most of my friends were second generation for their families. And some didn't even speak Spanish, but still self-identified as Latino. So Ferdman Gallegos created 6 orientations of identity for Latino students. The first is Latino integrated, understanding of racial constructs and ability to challenge them. Second is Latino identified, an acceptance of Latino identification with Latino as a race and culture. Subgroup identified, identification of multiple Latino races, and identification for regional subgroup. Latino as other. Identification as a generic Latino due to mixed heritage. Undifferentiated, colorblindness, adherence to dominant culture, and tendency to attribute failure to the individual rather than the racial constructs. And finally, white identified, acceptance of white and Latino races and stronger identification with white culture and rejection of Latino cultural and heritage. So the challenge most associated with this particular student population can be pressure from home. Gerardo Lopez wrote an article with more depth on parental involvement within immigrant households. From my personal experience as a first-generation college-bound student, my parents had no idea what to do, and my high school did not really prepare me for college, educationally or financially, to the point where my parents actually paid to have someone help us with the FAFSA. But on top of that, exposures to career were minimal at best. Within immigrant families and first-generation students, we're all told that we need to be successful, and the only way we can do that is by becoming a lawyer or a doctor, nothing else. I entered Montclair State University as a pre-med student, biology major, but unfortunately my high school did not prepare me for college-level chemistry, and for the first time in my life, I failed a class. Twice, actually. I wasn't ready for it. My high school, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, a very urban community, predominantly African-American and Latino, and my school didn't prepare me. There were 4 of us that went into this pre-med program, all Latino. 4 of us failed our summer. We did a summer, to get ready type of program. and we didn't succeed. And so when I took the class again the fall semester, failed it, and then took it again the spring semester, and I got a C. Same class, same books, studied hard. It just didn't get in there. So when I told my parents that I couldn't do this anymore, I was going to switch my major, become a psychology major, because parents love hearing that the science student becomes a social scientist. They just said, try again, try harder, do it again. They didn't understand that it just wasn't for me. I didn't have the capacity to understand this particular science and could not pursue this degree. But I was good at talking to people. I was good at helping people. I was good at helping people understand themselves. And so I went into a different route. And even now I see this with my upward bound students, where parents from immigrant backgrounds want their children to succeed in education, but are always so very narrow-minded of what that education is supposed to be. And they don't know how to provide that support. So these are some of the challenges that Latino college students have to deal with, particularly from parents with immigrant backgrounds, because it's only one or two things. It's not a variety. And, we're going to get into more advice of how to deal with particular students. But what I do with my upward bound students is expose them to all these different careers. I have somebody who wants to become a musical engineer. So every time we go to a technology school, visit a school, she asks, do you have musical engineering? I didn't know that was a major, and it is. But that's what we're doing now, to expose them to want to do more things. But parents don't always see that. They want you to be a lawyer or a doctor, because that's all they know. That's what they see successful. So are there trends? Nationally, Latino college student population is growing. The National Center for Education Statistics projects a 42% increase in Hispanic college students by 2021, not too far away. And universities and colleges around the nation are noticing the trend. Excelencia in Education website, and I'll send this information to Dr. Tolman, has done research on the rise of Hispanic serving institutions, also known as HSIs. Excuse me. In the last 10 years, there has been a 78% increase in HSI designation, with 40% of higher ed institutions considered HSIs, according to data collected in 2015 by Excelencia in Education. Excuse me. See, even going back and forth between Spanish and English can confuse me a little bit. HSIs are not similar to HBCUs. They sound similar. HBCUs are historically black colleges and universities. To be designated an HSI means that the Latino student population at your university or institution is over 25%. Once an institution achieves this level, they are then allowed to write grants for Title V funding from the United States Department of Education. This money is meant to provide resources for Latino students. What those resources look like is determined by the leadership of each institution. So part of what I've been doing at Montclair State and now at Rutgers University is creating more vocal student leaders, Latino leaders. I'm in the process now of starting a Latino American student organization here at Rutgers University. They didn't have one. They have multiple different ones tied to majors, but none tied to the culture and the history. So I try to provide that support, and I'm trying to get more people on this campus to provide that support. Talking about advice for current and potential higher ed leaders when it comes to Latino college students is simple. Be patient, listen, and provide resources. Programs like Upward Bound and the Education Opportunity Fund in New Jersey, we provide one-on-one mentoring, scheduled meetings with advisors and counselors outside of the major programs, and we hold our students accountable. And this goes for all college students. There are challenges when it comes to Latino college students, pressure from home, coming from an urban district, possibly, or maybe even a language barrier. But they are still students, and they still need to be held accountable. If you are interested in more opportunities to research more of this data or information, and to share this with other students that you may have that may be of Latino heritage, obviously NASPA is a great opportunity with the Latino, Latina, Latinx, and multicultural knowledge communities. Excelencia in Education does a lot of research behind HSIs and what programs work and don't work for undergraduate Latino students. Hispanic Scholarship Fund is nationwide, and they provide a lot of opportunities in terms of internships and scholarships. Same with the Hispanic Association for Colleges and Universities, as well as the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute. Now, to hear exactly from college students what they've been going through, I have asked a couple of my students here, actually not even my students that have just picked up the mentor, that are students at Rutgers University. So in those brief 10 minutes, we spoke about theory, we spoke about challenges, and we spoke about opportunities. So hopefully you learned something new. I am also available for questions. Again, I can't speak to about every Latino's experience. I didn't go into gender. I didn't go into the terminology that is now being used. It's a longer conversation than 10 minutes. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share my culture with you today, and hopefully I might hear from some of you. If you have questions, if you want to do more research, I have information. I've sent Dr. Tolman all my references, as well as a infographic from Excelencia in Education that shows more about what we just discussed today. Thank you, and hope you enjoyed.